There is a quiet, brutal hierarchy in every room you enter, and it is almost never decided by who is the smartest, the wealthiest, or the hardest working. It is decided by who controls the rhythm of the interaction. Picture this scenario. You are sitting on your couch at 9 o'clock at night, finally finding a rare moment of quiet when your phone lights up. It is a message from someone who routinely takes 12 to 24 hours to acknowledge your existence. Yet, within 3 seconds of seeing their name flash on the screen, you drop your thoughts, pick up the device, and type out a thoughtful reply. You tell yourself you are just being polite. You tell yourself you are the bigger person, the reliable friend, the dedicated partner, or the loyal employee. But the cold truth is, they do not see your reliability. They see your desperation. In a world drowning in noise, your perpetual availability is quietly making you entirely expendable. That is the unspoken law of human nature that polite society pretends does not exist. We are conditioned from childhood to be accommodating, to be team players, to answer every call, and to bend our schedules to make others comfortable. But this chronic, self-sabotaging need to over-accommodate in exchange for cheap validation is exactly what keeps Yao powerless. If you want to step out of the background of your own life, you must understand a fundamental rule of power dynamics. If you ruthlessly control what you give the world access to, you dictate how the world is forced to treat you. You train people how to value you by what you charge for your presence. And right now, many of you are giving away your most valuable asset for free. Time is the first throne of power. Before you can ever hope to command the respect of a room, influence a negotiation, or captivate another human being, you must first establish sovereignty over your own hours. We look at the people we admire, the executives, the elusive creatives, the high-status individuals who seem to move through life untouched by the frantic energy of the masses. And we think they are respected because of their title or their money. We have it backward. They have the title and the money because they first mastered the art of scarcity. In economics, when a resource is abundant, its value plummets to zero. Human psychology operates on the exact same metric. Social inflation is a very real phenomenon. When you print too much availability, your presence loses its weight. People stop thanking you for being there because they simply expect you to be there. You become the baseline. You become the furniture. Look at the dynamics in your workplace or your social circle. The employee who answers every digital message at midnight believes they are proving their dedication. They operate under the illusion of transactional loyalty, believing that if they sacrifice enough, the corporate machinery will eventually reward them with loyalty in return. But the Machiavellian reality is entirely different. Management does not look at the perpetually available employee and see a rare, high-value asset. They see a workhorse. They see a tool to be utilized until it breaks. Real power, the kind that sits in corner offices or commands silent respect in any industry, guards its calendar like a fortress. The exact same principle dictates modern relationships and friendships. When you drop your personal ambitions, cancel your gym session, or sacrifice your solitary peace just to grab a drink with someone who texted you at the last minute, you are broadcasting a lethal signal. You are telling them that your time has no competing bids. You are subconsciously signaling that your life is a waiting room, and they are the doctor. Human nature does not respect the martyr. it exploits the martyr. People do not value what they can summon with the snap of a finger. This is the trap of the open vault. You have left the heavy steel doors of your time wide open, and you are standing inside, wondering why people keep walking over the threshold with muddy boots, taking what they want and leaving without a word of gratitude. You cannot be angry at a thief for walking through an unlocked door. You must lock the door. You must realize that they cannot weaponize what you refuse to reveal, and they cannot devalue what they cannot easily reach. Becoming untouchable does not mean becoming needlessly cruel or developing an arrogant persona. It means developing a lethal, unshakable level of self-respect. It means recognizing that every minute you spend entertaining a chaotic argument, a one-sided friendship, or a meaningless distraction is a piece of your kingdom handed directly to your enemy. You must begin to engineer friction. Friction is the hallmark of value. If something is too easy to acquire, human psychology dictates that we treat it as disposable. Starting tomorrow, you must let the phone ring. You must let the message sit on read while you finish your thought, your meal, or your work. You will feel a sharp spike of anxiety when you do this for the first time. You will feel the desperate, deeply conditioned urge to reply immediately to prove that you are a good person, to ensure they do not abandon you, or to manage their emotional state. Let that fear starve. Sit in the quiet discomfort of making the world wait. When you stop rushing to be useful, people will initially be confused. They will push back. They will accuse you of acting distant or changed. Let them. They are not mourning your character. They are mourning the loss of their convenience. As you hold that boundary, something subtle but profound will shift in the atmospheric pressure around you. The people who treated you as an option will suddenly realize they no longer have the security clearance to summon you at will. By withdrawing your instant availability, you force them to schedule you, to plan for you, and ultimately to respect you. You stop being a reaction to their boredom and start becoming a priority in their reality. You rebuild the walls of your fortress, brick by quiet brick, simply by learning the immense power of saying no, or sometimes saying nothing at all. You become heavy. You become deliberate. You stop donating your hours to people who give you nothing but noise in return. Controlling your calendar is the foundational layer of this architecture. It is how you secure the physical perimeter of your life. But bleeding your time is only the first mistake. The second, and far more dangerous, is handing over the map to your mind. Bleeding your time is only the first mistake. The second, and far more dangerous, is handing over the map to your mind. And that map is almost always handed over voluntarily, drawn piece by piece through the reckless, uncontrolled motion of your own tongue. Put yourself in this exact moment. You are sitting across a table in a high-stakes corporate negotiation, or perhaps you are on a date with someone you are secretly desperate to impress. The conversation hits a sudden lull. A heavy, suffocating silence descends over the space. In that agonizing void, you can feel the pressure building in your chest. Your pulse quickens. Your social conditioning screams at you that this silence is a failure, that the interaction is dying, and that it is entirely your responsibility to resuscitate it. So, you open your mouth. You nervously fill the void by over-explaining a point you already made, justifying a perfectly reasonable boundary you just set, or worse. voluntarily exposing a past failure or deep-seated insecurity under the guise of vulnerability. You walk away from that interaction feeling a sense of relief, mistakenly believing you have forged genuine human rapport. The reality, however, is far more predatory. You have just audited yourself for the other person, handing them a meticulously detailed inventory of your internal wiring. This is exactly how the vast majority of intelligent, capable people surrender their power. They do not lose it in grand, dramatic confrontations. They bleed it out through thousands of unnecessary words. The tongue is a massive liability when it is driven by ego, insecurity, or social anxiety. We live in a modern culture that romantically celebrates radical transparency. You are constantly told that spilling your emotional guts to acquaintances, colleagues, and the internet is a sign of authenticity and strength. But a strategist understands human nature as it actually is, not as we wish it to be. In the cold, unapologetic light of reality, oversharing is not connection. It is the act of freely distributing live ammunition to people who have not yet earned the right to hold a weapon in your kingdom. When you talk too much, you strip away your own mystery. And mystery is not some cheap, theatrical trick meant to make you look like a cinematic villain. It is a fundamental, biological pillar of power. Human beings are naturally cautious around and intimidated by what they cannot fully comprehend. When you are quiet, people are forced to project their own assumptions, their own fears, and their own hidden motives onto your silence. They cannot read your baseline, which means they cannot calculate your trajectory. But the moment you start speaking compulsively, you reduce yourself to a known, predictable quantity. You show them exactly how much you crave their approval, how terrified you are of their judgment, and how easily you can be swayed by a well-timed compliment. Consider the coworker who constantly broadcasts their career plans, their frustrations with upper management, and their private financial stresses. They think they are simply venting to a trusted ally, building camaraderie through shared misery. But what they are actually doing is giving a Machiavellian player the exact coordinates of their pressure points. If someone knows you are desperate for a promotion, they know exactly how to make you compromise your values. If they know you are terrified of being perceived as incompetent, they know exactly which subtle insult will send you into a spiral of overworking. They cannot weaponize what you refuse to reveal. Your silence is the invisible armor that forces the world to deal with you carefully, because they do not know where your limits lie. There is a profound, almost terrifying dominance in a person who is entirely comfortable in the quiet. When a manipulator asks you a probing, inappropriate, or slightly aggressive question, their goal is to destabilize you. The amateur player instantly takes the bait, speaking rapidly to relieve the internal pressure of feeling misunderstood or challenged. The master player does the exact opposite. They pause. They look the other person directly in the eye, and they hold the void. By simply refusing to fill the empty space, you reverse the psychological pressure back onto the attacker. Suddenly, the person who asked the question feels exposed and awkward. They begin to backpedal. They begin to over-explain their own question. They start negotiating against themselves to fill the suffocating silence you created. Without raising your voice, without using a single aggressive word, you have just asserted total, chilling control over the dynamic. Mastering this requires a brutal level of physiological discipline. You have to train your nervous system not to panic when the conversation stops. You have to train your ego to abandon the desperate need to ensure that everyone in the room understands your brilliance, your pain, or your pure intentions. Most men and women dilute their potential because they cannot stand the thought of being misunderstood. Let them misunderstand you. Let them miscalculate your intelligence. Let them assume you are slow, or boring, or unaware. Their underestimation is your greatest tactical advantage. Your plans lose their kinetic energy the moment you announce them to a crowd that has no genuine stake in your success. People do not need to know your next move. They do not need to know how much money you are making, who you are quietly cutting out of your social circle, or the private empires you are building in the dark. If you want to become truly untouchable, treat your words like hard capital. Every time you open your mouth, you are spending a finite currency. When you speak constantly, your currency suffers from hyperinflation. Your words become cheap, easily ignored background noise. But when you speak rarely, precisely, and without the desperate hunger for validation, every word carries immense weight. People lean in, they listen closely, not because you are shouting, but because they recognize that you do not speak unless it is strictly necessary. From this day forward, stop confessing your flaws to people who are quietly studying you for weaknesses. Stop explaining your boundaries. Simply enforce them through action. If someone crosses a line, you do not need to deliver a passionate, breathless soliloquy about why their behavior hurt you. A cold, silent withdrawal is infinitely more terrifying and effective than a tearful argument. Let them sit in the dark, wondering what they lost, while you protect your inner world with a heavy iron gate. When you master your tongue, you stop giving the world the handles it needs to steer your behavior. You become a cipher, an unreadable entity that commands respect through sheer, disciplined restraint. Yet, even a fiercely quiet man can be unmasked, provided the enemy knows exactly where to slip the blade to make him react. Even a fiercely quiet man can be unmasked, provided the enemy knows exactly where to slip the blade to make him react. That blade, the ultimate vulnerability in any social architecture, is your temper. Let us examine a deeply familiar scenario that plays out every day. You are sitting at a family gathering or a routine workplace meeting. Across the table is a colleague or a relative who specializes in the art of the veiled insult. They wait for the perfect moment, usually when there is an audience, and they drop a meticulously calculated, passive-aggressive comment disguised as a harmless joke. It hits your exact insecurity. Instantly, your heart rate spikes, your face flushes, and primal instinct takes over. You snap back, you deliver a sharp, passionate defense of your character, or a biting, defensive retort. As the room falls silent, you walk away feeling a sudden rush of adrenaline, utterly convinced that you just defended your honor, established your dominance, and put an enemy in their proper place. Here is the cold, unsettling truth that you must digest. You did not win that exchange. You lost it entirely. You did not look powerful. You looked like a marionette dancing on a string, and everyone in the room just watched the other person pull it. This is the moment we must pivot and look at the brutal reality of your situation. The issue is not that you are surrounded by toxic people, or that you have bad luck with workplace politics and difficult family dynamics. The issue is the invisible signal you continuously broadcast to the world. You are targeted because you bleed when poked. You have unconsciously trained the people around you that your emotional state can be hijacked with a single, well-placed sentence. You believe your anger is a formidable show of strength, but to a Machiavellian observer, your anger is nothing more than an exposed lever they can pull whenever they want to feel powerful. You must understand the real incentives driving human behavior. People do not provoke you because they are cartoon villains driven by pure theatrical malice. They provoke you because your predictable temper is an easily harvested, low-effort source of psychological power. When an insecure person feels small, they instinctively look for someone whose emotional baseline they can alter. If they drop an insult and you immediately flare up, start justifying yourself, or visibly lose your composure, you have just given them a massive hit of dopamine. You validated their existence. You proved that their words possess the sheer gravitational pull to disrupt your inner peace. They controlled you without ever laying a hand on you. Anger, in this context, is not a weapon you wield against them. It is a massive, glaring information leak. It maps out your exact insecurities. It tells them what you value, what terrifies you, and exactly how fragile your ego truly is. As we have established, they cannot weaponize what you refuse to reveal, and every time you lose your temper, you are handing them the exact blueprints to your psychological destruction. To become truly untouchable, your temper must become a locked chamber. This does not mean you become a numb, unfeeling robot who accepts abuse. It means you realize that your emotional reactions are a highly valuable currency, and you simply refuse to spend that currency on cheap provocations. When someone insults you, they are handing you a script and expecting you to read your defensive lines. The most terrifying thing you can do to a provocateur is to drop the script and stare blankly at them. Imagine the lethal power of the pause. The next time that colleague or relative makes their little jab, do not defend yourself. Do not widen your eyes. Do not sigh heavily, and do not offer a witty, aggressive comeback. Look at them calmly, as if you are observing a deeply fascinating but slightly pathetic specimen in a petri dish. Let the insult hang in the dead air. Let the silence stretch until it becomes physically uncomfortable for them to endure. By refusing to react, you completely deny them the psychological payoff they were hunting for. You starve the parasite. Without the fuel of your outrage, their comment falls flat, and they are left holding the awkwardness of their own hostility in front of an audience. They look childish, while you look utterly immovable. This is the essence of tactical realism. True power is not raising your voice to drown out disrespect. Real power is making someone incredibly nervous while you remain perfectly still. It is the chilling realization in their eyes that they no longer have the security codes to access your emotional vault. You take away the joystick they have been using to steer your mood, leaving them fumbling in the dark. When you stop reacting, be prepared for an extinction burst. The people who used to feed on your temper will initially escalate their behavior. They will try harder to offend you, poking old wounds and pressing new buttons, desperately trying to find a way to make the old machine work. When they finally realize the machine is permanently unplugged, they will retreat. They will likely accuse you of being arrogant, cold, or emotionless. But beneath their accusations is a deep, quiet terror, because they realize they are now dealing with an entity they cannot manipulate. You have achieved emotional sovereignty. You no longer belong to the room. The room belongs to you. But locking down your time, your tongue, and your temper only secures the outer perimeter. When your temper becomes a locked chamber, the only people left to deal with are the ones trying to pick the lock of your inner circle. When your temper becomes a locked chamber, the only people left to deal with are the ones trying to pick the lock of your inner circle. And they will rarely approach that lock armed with a crowbar. They will come armed with a warm smile, a shared history, and the comforting illusion of loyalty. Think back to a moment when you felt entirely secure in your social standing. You are out in a public setting, perhaps mingling with a group of colleagues or cultivating a new high-value connection. You are accompanied by someone you call a close friend, someone who has known you for years, someone who has sat on your couch, drank your coffee, and heard your most private late-night struggles. Suddenly, right in the middle of a flowing conversation, this friend drops a casual remark that surgically undercuts your authority. They bring up a slightly embarrassing failure from your past, or they softly mock a quiet ambition you have been working toward, framing the betrayal as nothing more than harmless banter. You force a smile and laugh it off to preserve the peace of the group. But beneath the surface, a cold, sharp realization washes over you. They did not speak carelessly. They deliberately diminished your status in that room solely to elevate their own. This is the bitter, unspoken truth about proximity. Most people fatally confuse history with loyalty. We blindly believe that simply because someone has known us since university, or because we have shared countless Friday nights sitting at the same bar, they are automatically entitled to the deepest layers of our trust. We grant lifetime access passes based entirely on nostalgia, but a Machiavellian strategist understands that trust must be forensic. It cannot be sentimental. People do not reveal their true nature when the waters are calm, when life is routine, and when everyone is equally struggling. They reveal their true nature when the power dynamics suddenly shift. It happens when there is a sudden influx of money, an unexpected career opportunity, the arrival of a high-status individual in the room, or a sudden, undeniable display of your own rising success. That is the exact moment the smiling acquaintance realizes your elevation threatens their fragile ego, and the friendly mask slips to reveal a quiet competitor. The fatal flaw of the chronic people-pleaser, or the person who feels constantly overlooked, is that they treat trust like an all-or-nothing toggle switch. If someone is deemed safe or friendly, the vault doors swing wide open. They share their deep financial fears, their relationship doubts, and their grandest, unpolished ambitions with people who have absolutely no skin in the game. You must break this deeply ingrained, self-destructive habit today. If you are serious about becoming untouchable, you have to realize that catastrophic betrayal rarely comes from a declared enemy standing across a battlefield. It almost always enters through an open door that you personally unlocked, held open, and labeled as friendship. The people who possess the capacity to destroy your reputation, sabotage your career, or shatter your peace of mind are the exact ones to whom you voluntarily handed the ammunition. True Machiavellian defense requires you to structure your trust in concentric circles, establishing a strict, unapologetic system of layered access. Proximity to you must be treated as an elite privilege, not a basic human right. You do not hand the keys to your inner kingdom to someone just because they offer a sympathetic ear. Instead, you test them, you feed them small, inconsequential pieces of information, and you watch the trajectory of that information. Do they keep it respectfully quiet, or does it miraculously find its way into the local gossip mill within a week? When you achieve a minor victory or receive praise from a superior, do you see genuine warmth in their eyes? Or do you detect that microscopic, involuntary flash of envy before they force a smile and change the subject? Watch how they treat people who have absolutely nothing to offer them. Listen carefully to how they speak about their other friends when those friends leave the room. Rest assured, the exact same tone and the exact same judgment are applied to your name the moment you turn your back. You are not adopting this mindset to become a paranoid, isolated cynic. You are adopting it to become awake. Paranoia is a fearful, chaotic reaction to the unknown. Awareness is a calm, calculated, and grounded observation of reality. You must stop romanticizing your relationships. It is a harsh, deeply unsettling pill to swallow, but you must accept the reality that some people in your life only love the version of you that is slightly broken, slightly lost, deeply accessible, and firmly beneath them. The moment you begin to master your time, silence your tongue, and control your temper, you completely disrupt the comfortable hierarchy they relied upon. The people who secretly used your weakness as a mirror to make themselves look stronger will try to pull you back down. They will attempt to use the private pain and the secrets you foolishly trusted them with as leverage to keep you exactly where you used to be. Therefore, you must ruthlessly audit your inner circle. Revoke access from the emotional vampires, the passive-aggressive critics, the chronic complainers, and the people who secretly compete with you while calling you a brother or a sister. You do not need to stage a dramatic, fiery confrontation to cut them off. Remember the rule of the tongue. Your silence is your strategy. Simply stop updating them. Stop offering them your private struggles for them to consume as cheap entertainment. Stop pouring your golden ambitions into their skeptical, leaden ears. Downgrade their security clearance quietly, smoothly, and without a single word of apology. Shrink your circle until it only contains individuals who have proven their character under intense pressure, who celebrate your victories without a shadow of resentment, and who fundamentally understand the heavy, expensive currency of mutual respect. They cannot weaponize what you refuse to reveal, and they cannot betray what they cannot access. Once you stop leaking your time, words, emotions, and trust, the atmospheric pressure around you fundamentally alters. Once you stop leaking your time, words, emotions, and trust, the atmospheric pressure around you fundamentally alters. This is the final stage of your evolution, the point at which you cease to be a predictable participant in other people's games and become an entirely immovable force. Picture the aftermath of this quiet, internal revolution. You walk into the same room, sit at the same conference table, or attend the same social gathering with the exact same people who have known you for years, but the dynamic is completely unrecognizable. The person who used to effortlessly drain your energy approaches you, ready to deploy their usual tactics. They bring a sudden manufactured crisis, an unwarranted demand on your schedule, or a subtle, probing question specifically designed to trigger your old insecurities. But this time, they hit a wall. You do not rush to fix their problem. You do not over-explain your unavailability. You do not take the emotional bait and launch into a defensive spiral. You simply look at them with calm, unbothered eyes, hold your silence, and hold your ground. Immediately, you will watch them begin to squirm. They will feel a sudden, intense discomfort, and they will almost certainly try to shame you by accusing you of being cold, distant, or radically changed. Do not flinch when this happens. What they are experiencing in that exact moment is merely the friction of shifting power dynamics. They are not actually upset that you have become a worse person. They are terrified because you are no longer raw material for their egos. For years, you were the convenient, pliable clay they used to mold their own sense of superiority. Human beings operate exactly like water, naturally and relentlessly flowing toward the path of least resistance. For a very long time, your lack of boundaries made you the path of least resistance. You were the perpetually open door. Now, they are slamming headfirst into reinforced steel. You have established an immovable standard, and that standard forces a brutal, unspoken ultimatum upon everyone in your orbit. They must either drastically elevate their level of respect to meet your new baseline, or they must remove themselves from your presence entirely. Most will choose to leave because elevating their respect requires a level of maturity, accountability, and self-awareness they simply do not possess. Let them leave. Let them call you arrogant. Let them whisper behind your back and mourn the death of the accommodating, easily manipulated version of you. That old version had to die so that the sovereign version could breathe. When you master these 4 pillars, your time, your tongue, your temper, and your trust, you achieve the rarest and most dangerous state of existence in the modern world: total emotional independence. You are no longer waiting in the dark for the world to tell you who you are, what you are worth, or how you should feel on any given day. Your identity is no longer a leased vehicle, rented from the fleeting validation of your peers, your employer, or your family. You own it outright. You become a self-contained ecosystem. The chaos of the external world can storm and rage all it wants, but it cannot breach the walls of your inner citadel without your explicit, conscious permission. This mastery creates a phenomenon that is entirely impossible to fake: a genuinely heavy presence. You will begin to notice subtle, almost microscopic shifts in how the world interacts with you. You no longer have to announce your arrival when you step into a room. You do not have to speak over the loudest, most obnoxious person at the table just to be heard. Your disciplined silence begins to carry more gravitational weight than their desperate shouting. People will naturally adjust their posture. When you approach, they will filter their jokes. They will hesitate before asking you for a favor, because your demeanor quietly broadcasts that your compliance is highly expensive. When you do choose to speak, your words land with the bone-crushing force of an anvil. Everyone listening instinctively knows that your words are rare, surgically calculated, and backed by a terrifying level of self-discipline. They sense something else, too. They sense the most lethal weapon in the Machiavellian arsenal: your absolute willingness to walk away. The willingness to walk away is the ultimate, unchallengeable trump card in every power dynamic on Earth. The person who needs the least holds the absolute most power. You have fundamentally rewired your psychological hard drive to need absolutely nothing from the people who used to control you. You do not need their praise to feel competent. You do not need their company to feel secure. You do not need their permission to advance. And because you do not need them, they can no longer threaten you with their absence. You become immune to the very leverage that keeps the rest of society in chains. As we conclude this blueprint, I want you to look at your life not as a series of random, unfortunate events, but as a sovereign territory that you are solely responsible for defending. The velvet dagger of this philosophy is that nobody is coming to save you from your own compliance. Tonight, when the noise of the world finally fades and you are left entirely alone, do not distract yourself with the glowing screen of your phone. Do not numb your mind with cheap entertainment. Sit in the stark, quiet reality of your current situation. Review the gates of your life. Ask yourself, with brutal honesty, where you are still bleeding your time to ungrateful people. Ask yourself who you are foolishly handing your words to. Ask yourself who is currently holding the remote control to your temper, and ruthlessly audit the individuals who are casually lounging in the vault of your deepest trust. Find the breaches in your walls. Do not apologize for them. Do not feel guilty for them. And whatever you do not make a grand, emotional public announcement about your intentions to change. Just quietly, steadily, and ruthlessly seal them shut. The world does not reward the soft, the perpetually available, or the easily broken. It uses them, and then it discards them. The world only bows to the immovable. Lock the heavy iron gates of your inner palace tonight. Let the irrelevant fade into the background, and wake up tomorrow completely untouchable. The blueprint is now in your hands. The only question left is whether you have the cold nerve to execute it.